Welcome to the fifth tutorial, Motion Tween. In this first one we'll introduce the idea of pegs. On the drawing layer, draw a simple circle, fill it in, and dress it up a little bit. Once we have our shape drawn, we are going to leave the drawing view and go into the camera view. Once we're in the camera view, our objects are there and we can resize them or work with them. But before that, we're going to attach a peg to each one of our drawings, or to our drawing here. And the peg allows us to manipulate it and move it around. But first of all, we're going to increase the exposure of our little circle to 40. So now it's there for 40 frames. We add a peg. We drag the drawing onto the peg. And you can see the peg is the red square. Now that little black or blue circle allows us, that's our point of revolving. Now before we do anything, in our peg we need to add a keyframe. So we'll add a keyframe at frame 1 and a keyframe at frame 40. And this will allow us to create our motion. Simply click on it, slide him down in frame 40, and if we play that, he will now slide across the screen. Now at any point throughout that, if we grab him and move him, we will make another keyframe. And now the path won't be just straight. So our little happy guy will now bounce across the screen. Be very exciting. And there he is. Woohoo! Now once we've done this, we can keep looping it, or we can save it and then export it as a movie. So first we'll save it, and now we will export it as a QuickTime movie to our desktop, and then you can move it into the submit folder once you're done. So once you've done this, save it, and here's what the finished product, all 40 frames, looks like. Hold on to your seat, this is fairly exciting. Fantastic. The next one we're going to do exactly the same thing, but this time we're going to embed a peg within a peg. So that will allow us to create a motion as well as a path motion. It's kind of like using the symbols in Flash. So first of all, in the drawing layer we need to draw our shape, and this time we're going to draw a bird. I think this is called a chickadee, but you may not be able to tell from my drawing. I've used a smooth function again. There's the chickadee's body, and there's the chickadee's eye. I need to make another layer, or in Toon Boom called an exposure or element. So I'm going to make another element, and I'm going to call this one wing. So now I'll draw on a little gray wing on our bird, and notice of course I'm still in the drawing layer. And I just wanted to change the color of the wing to gray so we could be able to distinguish between the body. And it'd look more like a chickadee, I think. Okay, once we have our wing, we can go to the camera view again. So open the camera view. There's our bird in there. And now we need to look at the timeline. We'll need to make a peg for the wing, and eventually we'll make a peg for the body. But first we'll make a peg for the wing, and we'll create the wings flapping using the revolve tool and creating keyframes. So let's rename the peg. So we create a peg, we drag the wing on top of it so it is a child of the peg, which is called the parent. It's kind of a weird term, but if things are at the same level, we say they're brothers and sisters. If they're parented or below, then they're children, parents, grandparents, etc. There should be a better way to explain that, but that's the way it works. So again, I have to increase the exposures to 40 frames, so the wing will show up in all 40 frames. And I don't need to make a keyframe in my drawing layer. I want to make a keyframe in the exposure layer again, or sorry, in the peg. I also need to make the body 40 frames as well, or 40 exposures. Okay, so let's add a keyframe in our peg at the start and at the end. And then we just need to, in this case, rotate the wing to make it look like it's flapping. Now remember to move the blue dot, which is the center of revolution. There we go, here's our wing, and we can now make it look like it's going to flap. You can add more keyframes along to make it flap faster or slower, or whatever makes us happy. There we go, there's our wing flapping, a bit goofy, but you get the point. Okay, now our next step is we're going to take our wing and our wing peg and take it and drag it on top of our body and our body peg. And that will then make the body the parent and the wing the child, so whenever the bird moves, obviously the wing will move with it. And we can collapse the branches so we don't have to see all of the pegs and parts underneath. In the next tutorial, when I show you how to cut up your drawing, you can then use this to create knees, elbows, etc. So once we have it parented, now everywhere the bird goes, the wing will go and flap with it. So again, let's create a keyframe and move our bird, and now we can have it fly across the screen again, and when it does that, its wings will flap. Okay, so there's our simple motion tween across the screen. And again, by moving it, changing its position between the first and last keyframe, we're adding more keyframes and we can make the motion a little bit more interesting. Okay, so again, we need to save our file, and when you do this, you'll obviously put some more layers in there, maybe some more exciting things. But let's export the movie, and here it is. There's my flying bird.